All right, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing this evening? And thank you guys for joining the live stream. Got Janet in here with us, so thank you for being our moderator this evening. A lot of warm for us. Sweet. Foot of snow is melting. Well, that's good. That's good. Nice and warm in the house. It's melting here too, very slowly. So I'd rather it be slow and melt away because it actually is nice going out and stepping on snow and not mud up to your ankles. I despise the mud. I'd rather have the snow. I don't really like the cold, but I'd rather have the snow. Hey there, Kathy. How you doing? Thank you for joining us this evening. Guys, don't forget, if you don't care, please share this out and don't forget to hit the like button. So we got Bland's Promised Land Ranch coming on this evening. Going to be with us here just in a minute. So can't wait for them to get on. But yeah, tell me about what all y'all been doing. We've experienced all kinds of crazy weather here. We've had busted pipes and animals getting killed from predators and all kinds of good stuff this week. So we've just had a wonderful week. So how's y'all's week been? So yep, cannot wait to get over some of this. So cold, I don't like extreme cold. A little bit of cold is not bad. Extreme cold is horrible. So we don't want extreme cold. If it would just stay 30, I can deal with that. Anything, too much more under that, into the 20s or lower is just no, we ain't doing that. So for days here, it was negatives. It was in the negatives. Yeah, that's miserable. I hate that, Janet. I hate that. I'm telling you, it's no fun. I still got pipes busted. I mean, they're just spraying little tiny streams. Let them flow. I don't have to run the water that way. I mean, underneath the house looks like ice skating rink, and I ain't going to climb under there and get all wet and stuff. So hopefully by the end of the week, I'll go in there and fix it. So it was bad. It was just this little one. So the regulator went out again. We just replaced that regulator December, not December 23, but December of 22, when the Arctic blast come through, we replaced it. And wouldn't you know that it had a 1-year warranty on that? And wouldn't you know, we were 25 days out of the warranty when it went bad this time. Sucks. So anyhow, it wasn't even that bad froze. I went down there and thawed it out with like 3 to 5 minutes, and it was done. And that wasn't even the part that was froze. It was above there that was froze really bad in this brass T fitting that's under there. So I fixed that, got that all squared away, and we couldn't figure out all day, like, why is the water pressure really, like, I got it flowing. It seemed to be doing pretty good in the kitchen. I mean, it wasn't up to snuff, but it was better than the rest. But the bathroom was really low pressure. I was like, what's going on here? Why is it so low? And so I get the new regulator going there to replace it, and I hear that. I'm like, what is that sound? So I shut the water off, and I'm listening. I'm like, it's still spraying. And then I start looking around, and there's this little place, same place it busted last year too, because it busted in like 5 different spots last year when the Arctic blast come through. But it was another place again. I put a shark bite in at this place to connect, because it had this little pinhole in the pipe. And I cut the pinhole out, put a shark bite in, connected those two pipes together, and sure enough, it was running like crazy right there at the shark bite. And I said, now, how does that even happen? I mean, really? So I'm fed up. This place here, I am fed up with. When it comes to water issues in this house, I could write a funny farm book just based on a money pit book off of this house and the freaking water system from the meter into the house and through the house. I don't know who put not wired. I don't know who ran the plumbing in this house, but they were a horrible plumber, to say the least. That's being nice. So yeah, it's miserable. We had busted pipes too. Oh, I hate that, Kathy. Oh man. Hey, Troy, what's going on? Yeah, you ain't too far away from me. I'm here in Summers County, so we're not far away. Oh, look who we got joining us. It's my peeps. What's up, my peeps? I can't hear you.
Wow, what's going on?
What's up, man?
He turned it off. He tested it and then he turned it off.
Ah.
I didn't want to say anything inappropriate. I haven't seen my wife all day, so.
Oh, I get it, bro. I get it. I mean, do you need to hit? You want me to take you down for a minute and hit mute?
Oh my
Whatever.
gosh. We've seen each other in the last 20 minutes. That's what we've seen each other. But he likes to mumble things sometimes.
Yeah.
And even the one time we were on a live, I don't know, were we on someone else's live?
It was Kettle Kitchen.
It was on Kettle Kitchen's live a few weeks ago. And we were answering questions or whatever. And he like looked at me and he whispered under his breath, "You're so sexy." And I was like, the mic's still on. And he was like, oh.
Hey, that's all right, though.
He sits right next to the mic. So that was the best part. I was like, yikes. Oh, well.
That's all right, though. That's all right. Ain't no shame in Eric's game.
There you go.
This is my lady.
That's right. That's right.
My lady of like 27 years.
He loves me.
That is crazy. That is crazy. Y'all been married almost as long as I've been alive.
Yeah,
Well,
thanks for reminding us.
Well, we're working on 27 years.
He said almost as long as I've been alive.
But we dated for like a year before we got married.
Yeah, we dated for a little bit. Just a little bit.
But that's cool, man, because I want to be that couple. You know what I mean? I want me and Annie to be that couple. You know, where we're like, yeah, we've been married for 30 years, and you know, I mean, I just seen today a lady that my mom was friends with. She just celebrated her 59th wedding anniversary, right? And
That's
I'm like,
cool.
Holy cow! Like, how long ago? Like, how long ago was that? Whenever I was a kid, how long had she been married when I was a kid, right? And I started looking into it, and I'm like, oh my goodness! Like, this lady was married 30 years when I was a kid, and she was around me, right? Like, that's just cool, though. You know, I mean, it don't stuff like that don't last anymore. Marriage is looked at like a throwaway thing. Oh, if it don't work out, just go down to the same place you got married at, and they'll divorce you. You know
Everything's disposable nowadays.
Right. Exactly. It's sad to see that, you know, it's really sad.
Well, that's why there's some requirements Monica has to fill in every now and again.
Oh my God.
You know, Ryan, what's interesting is when I first got out of high school, I worked at a small landscaping company in Maryland.
Right.
And we cut grass for this old man. His name was Mr. Wilson.
That's cool.
And he and his wife, and I can't really tell you exactly the way this guy looked, but just in the small interactions that I had with him, seeing this old man with like silver/white hair and his wife the same way, I just always thought in my mind, I'm like, you know what? I can't wait for the day that I've been married with Monica that long.
Right.
Where we're the old people, where we have the long white hair or the long white beard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you see, you're a little short there, though. You know, you gotta.
Lord.
I just trimmed it up. I had to look appropriate at work. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's something about trying to get a paycheck every now and again.
Yeah, right. That's funny, but
yeah.
I mean, it's just nice because to see that, you know, that there are couples that still exist that are able to make it through. Like, marriage ain't easy. Marriage is all about work, compromise, figuring it out. I mean, you got to be a team. And then when you add kids to it, that's a whole nother level of discombobulation. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you're dealing with over in West Virginia, but here, I mean, it's been an absolute delight to
right.
All these years. And then kids, I mean, it didn't make it harder. It made it easier.
Right.
Right?
Sunshine, rainbows.
Look, we were at the ER back the day before Christmas, right? Because Eric had hurt himself and we had to go to the ER because it was pretty bad. And we're sitting in the ER, and when we walk in, he's like, they're like, can I help you? And he's like, yeah, I got stabbed. And they were like, what? And he was like, I stabbed myself. And they were like, okay. So when you go through the ER, they have to ask you certain things. Now I'm sitting there right next to him, across from actually, when he went to the triage, and the lady's like, okay, so I need to ask you, you know, all these questions. And one of the questions was, are you, what did she say? Are you in any danger, or have you been forced to be here against your will? And he's like, and I'm like this.
I looked at her and I'm like, I just got stabbed. What do you want me to say? She's right there.
Right.
And the poor lady was like, okay. And I was like, I mean, we're just sitting there laughing. Like, seriously. First
It's
of
a
all,
joke.
if I stabbed him, I don't think I would be there. I think
Right.
well, there maybe I would be there to make sure you said the right thing. I don't know.
Right.
No, I mean, like, and so I sat there and like messed with him, like, yeah, you better say the right thing, mister. I mean, but they had to ask him that like twice in 2 different places. They asked him that. I was like,
That's funny.
that's pretty
So,
sad though, that's the criteria that they have to ask those questions.
right. Well, it is. It's very sad. Here's something. So when we was at the NICU with Malachi, Annie wouldn't answer her phone one day, right? And I had went out to go make arrangements with a outside physician to start seeing Malachi when he got released from the hospital.
Uh-huh.
And so we go, and I'm like making all these phone calls, and they're wanting this information, and I'm calling. She won't answer the phone. So I go up there and bust the ER door to, like, come through, and I'm like, hey, you ain't answering your phone. Like, what's going on? Like, because I'm frantic at this point.
Yeah.
I'm like, is he okay? Is he dead? What's going on? And when I left, one of the nurses went and told somebody else, and they came over and were like, are you abused? Is he like, and started asking. She was like, no. Like, I gave him a panic attack because he thought something was wrong with Malachi because I wasn't picking my phone up.
Yeah.
Are you sure? And she's like, yeah, I'm totally fine. Like, he got a little anxious because I wasn't picking up my phone, and he just, it was like 30 or 40 minutes that I hadn't picked the phone up. So he just ran over here to see what was going on. Like, you can't even be concerned anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you're concerned, all of a sudden you're this psychopathic person that's, it's crazy to me. And then everybody puts their nose in everybody's business. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Just this nurse overhearing me, like getting probably bits over cleaning a baby like she should be, and then getting bits and pieces of the conversation and then drawing conclusions and then going and running her mouth, It's just sad. It's sad that we live in that world.
Well, they got all these true crime shows out there, Ryan.
Right.
I mean, it's better than actually going to like a university or like some kind of training. I mean, when these women, I mean, I will tell you right now, if she needs to get rid of a body, she's good to go.
Right. Absolutely.
If she asked me, I got to be really careful because she's like, are you having a good day at work? The first time when I said no, and then I seen her the next morning showing up at my workplace, I'm like, no, baby, everything's good, I promise.
Apparently,
right.
And, I'm like Cousin Eddie from the movie. What's the Christmas movie where I'm going to go get the boss?
Yeah. Well, whatever happened to like As the World Turns and Ryan's Hope and all this stuff? Like, why ain't they watching that stuff? Stop watching the true crime stuff, right? Like, they get hooked on that stuff. Like,
wait a minute, that's not real?
No,
not real. No, my mom, it's funny. My mom came for a visit for New Year's, and it was her and her husband. And they were here for like 4 or 5 days. And my mom was like, yeah, I've been 4 days without my show. And I'm like, your show? Well, her and Jeff, my stepdad, they watch, what is it? As the World Turns or The Young and the Restless. One of those shows are still on.
Oh, wow.
And she watches them and she's like, well, we DVR it. So it's okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, Mom, that's so funny. But they love it. They watch it together. That's their like evening drama.
Like, I can remember as a kid having to go over to Mama Ryan's house. She was the next door neighbor, but she pretty much raised us like we were her own, right?
Yep.
And we'd go over there, and that's what she'd be watching, right? Either that, Baywatch, or Walker Texas Ranger. Yeah, a Baywatch always got me, right? But I was like, hey, I can put up with this. But I hated Walker Texas Ranger, and I hated all them other soap opera shows. I'm like, please just turn this off.
Look, we have the Roku TV, so we just every now and then I'll just be sitting there, and he'll be trying to fall asleep, and I'll just be like, we should watch something different. Let's watch something. Oh, like watch a classic. So they have this one channel. It's literally Walker Texas Ranger channel. It's like all the Walkers. And so I started watching it, and he was like, are you joking me right now? He's like, this is so cheesy. And I'm like,
it was so horrible.
I was like, this is Chuck Norris. Why? What do you have a problem with? It was so cheesy. But I watched the entire episode, and I'm like, that was excellent. And he was just like, no. He was like, you can watch it when I'm ready to go to sleep because I'm not interested.
Well,
I will watch Matlock before I watch Walker Texas Ranger.
Not good.
Matlock's pretty legit, dude.
Or Perry Mason or Andy Griffith. Yeah. I am not watching Walker Texas Ranger.
Horrible.
It was really cheesy though.
Her dad was big into that, and I don't understand why, especially now that I've seen it. But I will have to say, going back to what she was talking about, her stepfather watching this as the world turns or whatever.
It's because he's with.
I had to call his man card out for that one.
Right?
I'm like, Jeff, are you being serious right now? And it would have been one thing if he was like, look, man, I'm trying to spend time with my wife, something like that. But no, his response was more along the lines of, hey, man, it's a good show. I'm like,
right. It starts giving you the details about it. Like, like, Jimmy did this to Ricardo, and Ricardo did this to this one.
Yeah. See, look, Kathy said those were some awesome mystery TV shows too. Yeah, all those mystery, the classics. Yes.
Right.
What was that one that your dad would always...
Walker is not a mystery.
No. She's referring to the ones that Ryan was saying. What's the one your dad would always watch with me? What did we always watch? With James Garner. What was it?
Rock.
Oh, the Rockford Files.
Rockford Fire.
When I was living, when we were after we got married, we lived with his parents for about 6 months. And his dad had been in a really bad motorcycle accident, so he was recovering, and I was there during the day. Most of the days I was doing permanent sub work. So I was home most of the time if I didn't have a job. And so I was sitting there with him, and he would come and knock on my door every morning, and he'd be like, emergency's off, time for the Rockford Files. And he would bang on the door with his cane or his walker or whatever. He'd come knocking, and he'd go back down the hallway and sit. And I would get up and watch the Rockford Files with him.
That's
pretty
funny.
much every day of the week that Eric was all gone at work. And that was me sitting with his dad watching the Rockford Files.
That's funny.
I'll tell you what, that was classic. It was awesome.
Man, look, I get my kids on all the old shows. I'll have them watching old cartoons, Thundercats, Transformers, all that stuff, right?
Yep.
And they're like, oh, this is great. I'm like, yeah, compared to the crap y'all got on nowadays, this stuff is freaking legit. That crap, I don't know what y'all got on nowadays. Like,
yeah.
Well, this morning we were sitting in the living room, and the one of the boys woke up real early, and I was like, what's going on, bud? And he was just like, I'm awake. I can't get back to sleep. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, I'm going to lay on the couch for a minute because we've been dealing with this puppy at the house. And I said, I'm going to go back to sleep for a few minutes. I said, the puppy's asleep. Do you want to watch a cartoon? And he was like, well, I don't know what there is to watch. And I was like, well, have you ever seen Chip and Dale? Rescue Rangers?
Rescue Rangers.
He's like, Rescue Rangers. And I was like, yeah, let me turn it on. So I turned on the original because he goes, I've seen the movie. And I'm like, no. I'm talking about the original. So I turned the original on. He was like, this is pretty good. But then I was thinking about it later, and I was like, how did we even understand what they were saying? Because those little chipmunks talk so fast and their voices are so squeaky. I was falling asleep going, what did he say?
Right. But we understood it.
Yeah.
Well, we watched that. We watched Tailspin. I mean, think of all the good stuff like Peter Pan and the Pirates. That was on Fox. DuckTales. Right. Darkwing Duck.
Yeah.
I mean, there was tons of cartoons that we watched. I mean, Saturday morning was packed full of cartoons. You got up, you had a big breakfast with pancakes and sausage and eggs, and the family all sat together and ate, and you went and watched cartoons till 12 o'clock. You know,
and at 12 o'clock, it was all over with, though. It totally was. You could sit in front of the TV until like noon, and it was done. It was like, you need to start your day, shut the TV off. Right. I do remember that, too. But see, I used to watch, when I was a kid, Smurfs. They used to come on at 7 a.m. Like right on the money. And so I was always up watching the Smurfs every Saturday morning. And my dad, that's when he would make his bacon and eggs or his sausage and eggs or whatever. He would make scrambled eggs every Saturday morning. And he'd come in and sit and eat with me. We would always watch the Smurfs and eat scrambled eggs. And that was like my thing.
That's fun. But these kids nowadays, they don't know what this stuff is, though. Unless you teach them, they have no idea.
My kids know what these are. Scooby-Doo, right? Jeanette said Scooby-Doo. Yes.
Yep.
My kids know the classic. They don't watch the new junk. No new Scooby-Doo. The newest they've seen is the early 2000s, like that. Right. That was a good one. It was like Scooby-Doo and Friends or something. That was a good one.
Right.
And I like all those where they did all the movies and stuff. My kids love those because I had kids in the early 2000s. That was when my first three were, younger. And we didn't have cable. We couldn't afford cable at the time. We just got movies all the time. We had VHS tapes and
well, I wanted to address that. Troy Sutton said he only had 3 channels. Well, we didn't have that many because we had like this moving antenna that Dad had installed on the roof. I don't even know what that was about. But when I would go visit Grandma up in West Virginia, I think she had 2 channels. Mm-hmm. So, man, you just had to suffer through some of them shows.
At nighttime, you'd be watching the Polka Guy.
Oh, my goodness. Grandma was watching the Polka Guy at nighttime. His name was like Fat Eddie or something like that. And I thought she was just picking on the guy at first. And then when I saw the commercial break and they said, we'll be right back to Fat Eddie. I'm like, wait, that's the guy's real name?
Do y'all remember the Bozo Super Sunday show? with Bozo the Clown.
Yes, I've never watched it because I don't like clowns in particular.
I would watch it. I would go, please, I want to come on the show. I want to throw the ball so I can win a prize.
Oh my
Maybe
gosh.
Fat Joe.
That is so funny.
It was something. She's trying to look something up.
I'm
No, it's
looking
not
up.
Fat Joe. That's the rapper. Whoops. Yeah, but yeah, when I was a kid, I used to. I would wake up and watch Three Stooges with my dad first.
Yep.
Then we would slide into the cartoons for maybe like an hour or two, something like that. And then after that was the best, man. It was Black Belt Theater, dog.
That was
you know what
so
I'm talking
lame.
about?
Black Belt Theater?
What?
Oh my gosh.
Ryan,
Don't
I'm out.
waste your time.
I'm out.
No.
Yes.
Black Belt
American
Theater.
Gladiators I can get into.
Yes.
Black Belt Theater was like the cheesy Asian martial art movies.
And so they would talk, but their voices didn't line up with what they were saying because
Who
obviously.
did that over there?
Yes. And then they would talk American,
Like
like
Godzilla.
English, whatever. It was so cheesy. My dad would always watch them too. And I was like, peace out, Dad. I'm gone. I got to go. I'm going to play Barbies.
Monica
Thanks.
was boring. She went to play Barbies instead of watching martial arts.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
dad would watch the Godzilla movies, and I'd always say, "Why does their mouth not match up with what they're saying?"
Yeah.
And he'd be like, "Oh, that because they're voiced over." I'm like, "What does that
Yep.
mean, voiced over? I don't understand that at all." And you'd see Godzilla, and you'd hear this. What? So I love.
Yes, Kathy said the Smurfs are awesome. Yes, they were awesome. The original Smurfs, not this new stuff. And see, look, Troy saw Black Belt Theater. He knows.
I mean, but did it have like?
They had all kinds of fun stuff.
Sorry about that. Did it have like Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee in it? Or
Nobody
who?
good.
Wow.
It was all cheesy
What are you talking
people.
about?
There were no names. It was
nobody
all
good?
B film. It was like B film. B
Okay.
for bad is what.
Okay, so like Chuck Norris would have played in it then.
No. Oh, look, Jeanette says Captain Kangaroo and Romper Room. I used to always wait for them to say my name on Romper Room. I used to dream she would say Monica one time.
She never did.
She never did.
That sounds like a.
It sounds like my
educational
dream
show.
with the bozo guy. Who won the
Yeah,
ball.
that's exactly it. Yep. Romper Room. Yep.
I just wanted to throw the stinking ball so I could win some prizes, man. Because I was like, I know I can get the ball in the number 6 bucket and I would win the grand prize. You know what I mean? Like I just knew it, but yeah, nobody. And now, like what they would do is whoever was there, so they'd pick a girl and a boy from the audience, and then they would pick somebody for a telephone thing, right? And whatever the person that was actually there won is what you won over the phone,
Yeah.
right? I never got on that part either. I never got on the phone line either. I was like, I just want to get on the phone line so I can win some prizes. That dude better hook me up too.
Yeah, that was the fun part about watching those shows like that, and then like the Double Dare.
Double Dare. I always knew I would be good at Double Dare.
I might have to go back and watch that, I guess. I don't guess I've ever seen that.
Oh, that was on Nickelodeon. That was like a show. Okay, Jeanette.
That's 2 strikes against Ryan.
Okay, look, Jeanette. He's young, baby. He's young.
That's
Jeanette
right.
just
He's
said
like a
Captain
baby.
Kangaroo and Romper Room. So, and now in my mind, I'm saying the song. So, Jeanette, did you ever hear her say your name? Because that's it. So, the lady on Romper Room, Ryan, she would have this magic mirror, and she would say, and I had to go look it up just to make sure I wasn't messing it up.
Witchcraft.
She would say, "Romper, bomper, stomper, boo. Tell me, do." Tell me today, have my friends had all fun at play? And then she would look through this mirror and she'd say, Monica, did you have fun today? How about you, Ryan? And you would always
that's
like
cool.
wait for her to say your name. And of course, she
Right.
never said Monica, like ever. But I always wondered if she would ever say it. It's not a very common name, but yeah.
I thought Nickelodeon was a newer thing, like in the 90s.
Nickelodeon was in the 90s, but I mean, we were still young enough in the 90s. Like, I mean, I was born in 78. He was born in
Nickelodeon
77.
was in the 80s. Look that up.
Nickelodeon,
Was
Double
it?
Dare.
Because I remember watching stuff on Nickelodeon like Guts.
Yes.
Remember
That was
Guts?
older.
Yeah, I
And,
think my kids watched that, Ryan.
Huh?
I said, I think my kids watched that. I mean, how old are you? Are you like in your
I just
20s?
turned 39.
Like a little baby over here.
Right.
You need to go to bed soon? I mean,
Okay.
what's going on?
Nickelodeon, they did Family Double Dare from 1988 to 1993, and then
Okay.
Double Dare. So they did it in the late 90s or late 80s, early 90s. So it was like when Eric and I were like 10, 11, 12 years old. You know that age where you think you're like invincible and you can do like all the things, and then you realize you're just like a stinky almost teenager.
At 1990, I was 13.
1990, you were 13, so you were a stinky teenager already. But it was on in 88. Is what I'm saying.
Stinky teenager.
It was
what
also
no,
it wasn't. I smell good. I was a good smelling teenager.
That's funny.
Girls.
Yes, Legends of the Hidden Temple. I watched that one too.
Yes, Legends of the Hidden Temple was so good.
I was sitting here trying to think of it. Like,
I think I watched that with my baby brother.
No, Legend of the Temple, Hidden Temple. Mindy watched it all the time. My sister is 40 in a couple weeks.
If I can get it to y'all see this.
Yes.
I have a notes on cartoons and TV
Jabberjaw,
shows.
yes. Hong Kong Phooey.
Yeah, hang on, I'll read it because it's like so Jabberjaw, Hong Kong Phooey, Speed Buggy, Willie and the Choppers, Captain Caveman, Flintstone Kids, Flintstones, Harlem Globetrotters, Inch High Private Eye, The Great Grape Ape Show, Hair Bear Bunch, Betty Boop, Scooby Doo, A Pup Named Scooby Doo, Looney Tunes, Tiny Toons, Yogi Bear, Ant and the Aardvark, Pink Panther, The Jetsons, DuckTales, Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, Peter Pan and the Pirates, Tom and Jerry, The Smurfs, Felix the Cat, Inspector Gadget, Mighty Mouse, Popeye, Care Bears, Huckleberry Hound, The Archie Show, Winnie the Pooh, Adam Ant, Foo Fur, Transformers, Garfield, Heathcliff, Adventures in the Gummy Bears, Pound Puppies, Alvin and Chipmunks, Brave Star, Charlie Brown, Snoopy, Darkwing Duck, Dennis the Menace, Denver the Last Dinosaur, Dino Riders, The Real Ghostbusters, G.I. Joe, He-Man, The Raccoons, The Littles, The Muppet Babies, My Pet Monsters, Super Friends, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, Snork, Spider-Man, The Wuzzles, Rocky and Bullwinkle, Elf, Ren and Stimpy, Captain Planet, Dino Mutt,
Captain Planet,
Bobby's World, Augie, Doggy, Magilla Gorilla, Quick Draw McGraw, Guts. Like it just keeps going. So
okay, you said Captain Planet, and I was waiting for you to say that because when my sister and I went back, she used to watch us all the time, Captain Planet. And now my sister will be 40 on Leap Day. Okay, so she's same age, right? So because you'll be 40 this year, or you're 39 this year.
I just turned 40 like in January on January 4th.
Oh, okay. Oh, happy birthday, Lee. That's right. Yeah. That's right. So you
told me happy birthday.
That's right. Okay, so you just turned 40.
Did you wish? You didn't wish him a happy birthday?
I did actually.
Yeah, she did. She did.
Yeah. So you just turned 40, or you just turned 39?
Oh, I just turned 40.
Okay. So my sister.
No. I just turned 39.
Turned 39. That's right. Okay. So you're that's right, because you said you're a year younger than my sister.
He doesn't even know how old he is.
He knows how old he is. Leave him be.
You sure?
Yes, because you did say, "Oh, your sister's." I'm a year younger than your sister. That's right.
Right.
So we joke about Captain Planet because Captain Planet was in the what was that? The 80s or like late 90s or 90s or something. Literally, Captain Planet was like the first liberal like environmental show, and it makes me laugh to go back and look at it now because it was such a like environmental thing, and it makes me laugh because I was like, you can see like as the liberal nation was coming in,
right.
Global warming,
and they didn't know.
Global warming people were like, we should make a show. We're gonna teach these little jerk kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So my sister will be like, we're hurting the planet, Monica. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, guess what? I don't care. And I'd like pick up my styrofoam cup and I drink from it.
Drink out your straw.
Yes.
Now, Ryan, I have a question for you. Being in West Virginia, I'm sure that you're a lover of like fake wrestling, right?
I like it, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't love it.
Come on.
You can't say fake wrestling. You just say wrestling. Why would you say that?
I wanted to make sure he knew I wasn't talking about like high school wrestling.
Talk about the WWs or something like WWF.
So like, all right. So when I was a kid, hang on. First, I'll get to you in a second, Eric. But all right, do you remember dinosaurs?
Yes.
All right, like it would come
I'm
on
not that old.
Right? And it was what was the Muppet guy creator?
Jim Henson.
Yeah. All right. So
no,
I love that show. I loved that show when I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
I went back and bought all 3 of the seasons and went back and listened to this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And it's liberal too.
Yes, it is.
Very, very.
They have it. They have it on one of the like. I don't know what they have it on. They have it on one of these shows. It's funny because when it all ends or whatever, like when the world's ending at the very end, they're like, yeah, and they start talking about like global warming and all that too. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, it was on something that you can watch it on one of these like free channels or subscription channels or whatever. And like they're like, what's that? I'm like, I used to watch when I was a kid, but I don't know anymore.
So the reason why I was asking about fake wrestling, aka WWF, WWE, WEW, whatever it's called anymore. I don't know.
Right.
But did you ever watch the cartoon, the WWF cartoon?
I don't know that I watched the cartoon. If I did, I don't remember it. But like whenever I got into, all right, so I can remember watching Saturday wrestling whenever I was like really, really young. And then my dad bought me me and my two younger brothers, the WWF wrestling buddies. Right. So I had Macho Man. I still have my Macho Man, by the way.
FYI, they're actually valuable. Just
I know they are a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I got all kinds of toys. Look, like I got.
Yes.
You remember this? It's the McDonald's Flintstones.
Yes,
right?
the car.
I got all kinds of toys in this room. Like that whole wall over is just like not even a eighth of the Hot Wheels cars I have.
Are you talking about Eric? Are you talking about Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling show?
That's probably it.
Yeah, it was in the 80s.
But
80s.
But I do remember like watching that on Saturday, and then Dad bought us those wrestling dummies, and we started beating the crap out of each other. And there was no more wrestling allowed to be watched in the house. We weren't even allowed to watch Mighty Morphin Power Rangers after that. Yeah. So then I think I was like maybe 11 or so, maybe 10 or 11, and he started letting me watch wrestling again. I don't know if it was that or so much as it was I had a TV and I stayed downstairs and everybody else stayed upstairs, and I would just watch wrestling because they all went to bed, so.
See, I was the girl because my dad, I mean, my family is 2 girls and 1 boy. So we weren't allowed to hit each other. We're not allowed to wrestle with each other. Like you couldn't put your hands on each other. It was not allowed. There was no hitting, punching, pinching, slapping, smacking, nothing.
It was boring.
You would get in big trouble for doing that because it was 2 girls and 1 boy. And my brother probably could have wailed on us if he wanted to. So he would just take the ball across the street and play baseball on the wall. Needless to say, when I was a kid, I loved WWF. I mean, like loved it. I was the one who would beg my parents to pay for the pay-per-view so that I could see the cage matches and the WrestleManias. My dad bought me WrestleMania twice, pay-per-view. And you would have thought I like literally had just been given like $100 bill because that's probably what it cost back then anyway for the pay-per-view. It was like the best day ever when I could. And then I would record it. Because I was like, we're going to be smart, Dad. We can put a VHS tape there and VHS the whole thing. So I have my VHS WrestleMania, whatever it was, on VHS. That way I could watch it later if I wanted to.
Right.
So
I have them?
I think I probably had him at my dad's before he moved, but I don't even know if he has them anymore. He brought a bunch of stuff here. We helped pack them up a couple years ago, and I know that we have a bunch of VHS tapes at my dad's, but who knows what's there. But yeah,
that's cool.
I remember actually he bought me the paid to pay-per-view when Hulk Hogan actually body slammed Andre the Giant. When he lifted, like I saw, and then the steel cage match between them two, because it was like a steel, and then they climbed up. Oh my gosh, I watched all that, and I rewound that tape and watched it so many times, trying to figure out if there was like a way that Andre the Giant let him do it, because I was convinced it was real.
Right,
he did let him do it. By the way,
don't tell me that.
I have the entire DVD collection of all that stuff.
What?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
My wife hates whenever I'm an 80s, 90s fanatic, y'all. Like if they said you can go back in time and live back there, like my one-way ticket, please. I ain't coming back. You know what I mean? Like I want to go back there and stay because that was great. This stuff now, I'm confused as all get out. You know? So much rather be back there, man. That was just fun times, man. Everybody could laugh and joke and have fun, and like even like my older one, he'll watch stuff and he'll be like, "Was that appropriate?" Like, that was very appropriate for the time. Now, no, not so much, but it's still appropriate here in this house. You know what I mean? But like he just, but that's what they're used to. Like they're just like. Is that even what did he just say? Like, oh yeah, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. It's normal. Yep. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? But like the comedy was better. It was just funner, you know, and everything's just kind of like nowadays it's not fun anymore. It's not comedy. It's not, I don't know. And then you find out wrestling ain't real. right?
No.
And I mean, you always knew it wasn't real. You know what I mean?
They got to tell people. We were watching. Did you know they have midget wrestling?
Whoa.
Yes. Oh,
okay.
Lord.
We were watching.
You can't say stuff like that.
This went down a really, really big rabbit hole.
No, they have a show too. It's on like Discovery or something.
look, Retro Reset. There's a place in the mall called Retro Reset, right?
Yeah.
And I go there and buy Sega and Nintendo games.
Yeah.
And anyways, they have wrestling there. Well, they have midget wrestling once a month there. And I kid you not, it's packed whenever wrestling's there, but it's like out the door, running out the mall door when midget wrestling's there. Like,
I'm telling you, it's called micro wrestling.
Who wants to go see this?
So let's be politically correct. It's called micro wrestling, but they have a new show. One, I don't know where it is. We were watching it, and it's called Little Brawlers. Oh, it's Discovery. And we watched one of the episodes, and Eric's like, "This can't be real." And I'm like, "It appears to be a real show." He was like, "We got to watch episode 2." I'm like, he's all in. He's like, "Let's watch micro wrestling." I'm like, this dude's gonna get his body broken in half. He has a bone disorder. The one guy shows up, and he's like, yeah, I've been working out and stuff. I'm trying to get myself healthy and ready, but you know, and the trainer's like, well, whatever his name is, what exactly problems do you have? And he's like, well, I have a disease where my bones are very brittle, so every one of them can break if I do something wrong. He's like, if I fall out of the ring, I'll probably break my back. And the guy's like, we can work with that.
We can work with that? No.
And his wife's like, I really wish you would be careful. Remember, pulling up too much on your arms. And I'm like, lady, get your little baby man, put him on your back, and get out of there right now.
Is she regular size?
She's regular size. She carried him in her hip like a little baby. I was like, you get yourself a little baby carrier, put him in there, and save your back, honey. You can put him in your back.
Stroller.
Yeah, like I mean,
I'd be pushing him around in a stroller. I promise you, I would be.
Baby wearing would probably be. We call him micro wearing now. And you could just micro wear the man.
That's funny. That's funny.
I think, but I was like, no.
It's like the baby in Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, the little baby in Roger Rabbit. He's like smoking a cigarette. See, Roger Rabbit. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Literally.
Hey, Tommy, get over here.
Yeah. First of all, how did my parents even let me watch this movie? Okay.
Oh, I know, right?
Any movie from the 80s. What were my parents thinking? Were my parents smoking something they shouldn't have been? Because like literally there was not a lot of appropriate movies in the 80s, but I watched them nonetheless.
My dad was having us in front of the thing watching Poltergeist. And I
still hate
and I still hate when a TV goes like I'm like, click, turn it off, unplug
it. When those shows would come on, they would come on in the middle of the day on like Saturdays. They would come on this channel 54. And I remember my mom would be like, you're not watching the scary stuff, turn it off. And I'm like, okay. Well, then she would go do something and I'd sneak in and like click it on and watch it. I had nightmares from the Nightmare on Elm Street, like all those shows that I put on. I'm like, first of all, why channel 54? Why did you put these horror movies in the middle of the afternoon?
Right. I can't watch that stuff. I've never been able to watch scary movies ever. Like my dad would watch that stuff and I would just I would watch it for a little bit and I'd be like, yeah, no, I can't watch this, Dad. And I'd go play. My two little brothers be like it's all zoned in. And then they go, I can't sleep. I'd be like, well, maybe if you didn't watch the scary stuff, you could sleep. I'd roll over and go to bed. They'd be able to go, Mommy.
Well, I will tell you, like, look, Carmen said there were movies I was so excited to watch with my kids. I turned them on and mortified. I turned it off like, what in the world? I didn't remember that. Okay, so we did that with the Goonies, right? Because you're like, Goonies, classic.
Yeah.
Literally the first 3 minutes. I want to say he says at least 4 or 5 cuss words in the first, just handful. I'm like, what? So we about 6 years ago, no, actually about 8 years ago now.
Chunk was a potty mouth.
He was for sure.
We got about 8 years ago. My mom, she was like, look, I want to buy you a family gift for a present. What can I get you? And I'm like, you know what? Really, we don't need anything. And then I found this thing called the Clear Play. And we actually have a Clear Play DVD player. Now you can stream Clear Play. And what it'll do is it's like a VidAngel. Before VidAngel was a thing, Clear Play was a thing. And we Clear Play all of our DVDs. So we actually have all those DVDs. Huh?
Cleans up the
Yes,
last
it does.
words?
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
for instance, my 15-year-old, he just started watching all of the, what was Abigail watching with him? Oh, all the Marvel movies. Most people don't have any problem with their kids watching the Marvel movies and all those movies. My
Right.
kids, my 15-year-old and 13-year-old boys are not watching the Marvel movies. First of all, there
They
is
cuss a lot.
nudity. There's all kinds of sexual content. There's all kinds of just language. Now, violence is one thing. My kids can handle violence to a certain degree because they're boys and they would rather, they like seeing people get punched in the
Right.
face. So will take certain things out, but we can take out all the nudity, any kind of sexual content, any kind of language, even it rates it by blasphemy. So I don't want my kids hearing them take the
Right.
Lord's name in vain. So
Right.
whether or not they see it as a cuss word, we don't want it. So there's even a separate one for blasphemy. So we
That's
take all
cool.
that out. So they actually, my 15-year-old, my 13-year-old's not there yet, but my 15-year-old watched the Jason Bourne movies, the first two, the other day for the first time. He'll be 16 in June, but
Right.
he was like, we were sitting there talking about, we're like, oh, is he old enough for Jason Bourne? Some of it's really intense, but we were able to kind of take out some of the stuff that was really intense,
Right.
especially any kind of sexual content, any kind of blasphemy, any kind of language gone. And then some of the violence and the action we left in enough that he was still getting the gist of it and he didn't lose any of the content of the movie. I'm gonna tell you what, it's nice when my kids can. I don't really care if they fit in, honestly. Maybe I'm just like their mom, but it is nice when my kids are like talking to other children in the public setting and the kids are like, oh yeah, we saw the Spider-Man movie, and my kids are like, oh yeah, we watched that. Now, those kids don't know that my kids watched a very cleaned up version of Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse, and all the other all the other movies. My family watches the cleaned up version. So if my kids ever say that they've seen something as kids, it's because they've seen a very cleaned up, just like, what is it? The Christmas Vacation.
Yep.
We could never watch that as a family, only because it's clear played. The Christmas Story movie, A Christmas Story, for crying out loud. They say all kinds of cuss words in that. We watch it only clear played. So if it's not clear played, we're not watching it.
I didn't know that was a thing. That's pretty cool.
It's really neat too. You can stream it through Amazon Prime and you can actually do it, but you can do it only on a computer. You can't stream it to your TV yet. You have to like hook your computer up to your TV if you want to watch it on a big screen. But that's what we do as a family. And I will say that it has been awesome. I have the actual player. And then we pay for the monthly Clear Play thing. I love it. I know, sponsored by Clear Play. They should be sponsoring me. But yeah, cool, it's been awesome.
I'm still having to pull what my mom and dad would do. That's a cuss word. Don't you say it. If you say it, I'm washing your mouth out with soap. Don't you say that. That's bad. That's blasphemy. Don't you take the Lord's name in vain. Don't you do that. Don't you, like, I don't have to work. My kids don't do it, but you don't want, but it's hard not. I mean, everything, like you said, everything has it in there. And then the movies like we were raised on, that we thought were good, that, we look at like Marvel, like you said, right? And we're like, oh, that's horrible. Let's watch the Goonies. And then Goonies was just as bad. Like, but I mean, it just kind of shows you though, like how the world has become more and more pressing toward children, because those movies when we was kids, those were made for pre-adults. Like Goonies, that wasn't made for kids. That was made for pre-adults, even, 17, 18-year-old kids. Right. But now they never made Goonie toys for kids. You know what I mean? At least not that I know of, but they sure make Marvel toys for kids.
Yeah, they do.
You know what I mean? And G.I. Joes for kids, and Transformers for kids, and Transformers cuss, G.I. Joes cuss, all this stuff that is kid oriented, they're making toys for. So then they associate it with being a good thing, because there's a toy for it, and it's not. And like, what does a kid need sexual content in that movie for?
Exactly.
Now you're trying to appease these, not only the secular world, but now you're also trying to go in at kids too with it, and then make it acceptable. And I mean, either make it for kids or don't. You know what I mean? Like, but there is no in between anymore.
Ryan and Ryan, I want to say what I'm going to say. So this is your channel. So if you want me to stop, just,
go ahead.
I'm going to say that here of late, I have been 100% against Hollywood.
Oh yeah,
against celebrities. And the more I thought about it, they talk a lot about how they groom kids to do certain things, or whatever. But what I found is that they're actually grooming human beings to make certain things acceptable or not acceptable. Because just like you said, like what kids movie needs to have sexual content. Well, the reality is what adult movie needs to have sexual content, because it's nothing that really anybody, no woman should be showing herself the way that they do.
Exactly.
And on the other end of that, no men should be looking forward to that either.
Right.
You know, and that's one of the things that Monica and I take very seriously about things that we put on our TV, because sometimes it's not really sometimes you fall into things because you see it, not necessarily because
it opens up a portal.
Yeah, you're not necessarily intentional to it. It's more like it just kind of comes out because that's what you see or that's what you hear, which is why it's important to make sure we're surrounding ourselves by the right people, listening to the right music, watching the right videos or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very disappointing to see how quickly people are willing to look past that, because even when you have all this stuff like the Epstein files and all that jazz, where people are like, well, that's just absurd. Why would they go there? And everybody like jokingly knows what was going on the island, but yet we still go to the same movies to support the same actors or actresses that are partaking in these sort of things. And Stephanie even saying here about commercials. And it's funny because from generation to generation, you get groomed to what is acceptable.
Right.
And Monica and I were talking about this the other day because like 20 years ago, her grandfather, which is now 91 years old, 20 years ago, him and his wife said that they can't even watch commercials because they would show like bra commercials or underwear commercials. And if you think back when they were young in their generation, if a woman ever showed herself like that, that would be totally unacceptable.
Yeah.
But now it's acceptable. Why? Because we're evolving? Because we're getting better? Or because
we're being groomed?
Exactly. Exactly. It's just interesting because we were watching football the other day with the boys and we were doing something. And it was like, I was like, you need to skip the commercials. We don't need to watch these commercials. They have like panty commercials in the middle of a football game. I'm like, who's watching this? Oh, wait, never mind. We're watching the Chiefs. The Taylor Swift people watching this? Like, what are we doing here?
Right.
Like, so stupid. But it really is grooming it. So I've got boys. I've got young boys. I've got 15, 13, 12. I've got these little kids, these 8-year-old boys watching this stuff. And it's one thing when you have an 8-year-old that's like, oh, Right. But then you have a 14 or 15-year-old, it's like,
and they're like,
okay. But my boys do this. So we've taught our kids ever since they were really young. You don't kiss people unless you're married. You don't kiss unless you're married. And we always say, kiss if you're married. And we started that when my oldest was about 4 or 5 years old. We'd say, only kiss if you're married. And whenever we were watching a show and people would kiss, we say, don't look because they're not married in real life. You don't want to watch.
Right.
Because you don't kiss if you're not married. And so we always did that because we really wanted our daughter to know as a girl, because I feel like they really come after girls, that these little girls should have boyfriends and get married and do all this stuff and have boyfriends when they're like 6 and 8 and all this. And we didn't want all that. So we said, kiss if you're married. So anytime people would start to kiss in movies, Hallmark movies, anything, my kids, even to this day, they're like, except for my 8-year-old, because my 7-year-old, because he hasn't been trained as much as the rest of them. And so he'll be like, and we're like, no, they're not, don't look, they're not married. And he's like, oh, and he does this. Cause I'm like, they're not married. Don't kiss. And we always joke. And Eric will say, who picked out this movie? They're kissing like this. And then we always, blame somebody in the room and we laugh about it. But you can't get away from people kissing each other or, whatever.
Nope.
Even when you're trying to watch, Christmas movies on Hallmark or whatever, Great American Family or whatever you're watching.
My dad told me he can remember whenever he was going to church, TV had just started becoming a big thing back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
My dad's 72 years old. It would be 73 next month. And he said, I can remember the preacher preaching and saying that the TV is the portal to hell, and that people shouldn't watch it. And he said, I can remember after church, everybody going home and said, did you hear what the preacher said? The preacher said the TV is a portal to hell. I can't believe that. And they turn it on. And Dad said, I didn't realize until, in my late years, that he was right. that he was right about everything he said about the TV. You know, he said that the preacher would say, you know, I don't have a TV, I don't want a TV, don't need a TV, you know, and he said, why would I want to take up, you know, Dad said that he would, you know, always fuss and say, why would I want to take up time watching something idle whenever I could spend that time with God? He was like, if I've got time on my hands that is idle time, then I'm going to spend the idle time with God, because then it's not spent in vain. Mm-hmm. And Dad said everybody would just kind of joke and laugh and be like, oh, he's just old school. He ain't got caught up with the times yet. And Dad said he was right, though. You know, he was very right. You know, it does open up portals. It does teach us and groom us to be accepting to some things. And each generation does get worse and worse, you know. And like I said, like, you know, it used to be, they made cartoons for kids to where kids could watch the cartoons. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, Lady and the Tramp, or, you know, Pocahontas, or, you know, any of these old school Disney movie, TV, whatever you want to call it, you know, cartoon like stuff. Now it's not geared for that. It's sexualizing, and it's trying to pervert things and make it to where our kids are accepting of what they want them to be accepting of, right? And that's why I'm so against sending my kids to school, you know, as well, because I don't want my kids going and spending more time in the secular world than what they have to be, whenever they can spend it here with me. And I know what I've taught them, I know what I'm teaching them, and I don't have to worry about some outside influence who's sitting there letting their kids watch porno or something, right? And telling my kids all about it, because I know what it was like going to a public school and kids we would come home and turn on MTV, you know, and watch MTV with Carson Daly, right? And all these sexual videos, music videos out there, right? And then we wondered why we have, you know, the whole thing with Teenage Mom on MTV and all this other stuff. Well, we pumped it up. We pumped sex up. We made it to where, you know, it's a good thing. It's pleasurable. It's natural. Everybody should do it. Don't matter if you're married or not, right? And we've seen this explosion of, you know, all these fatherless homes and these single moms and all this horrible stuff, disease and stuff going on and on and on. But we never blamed them for it. We blamed the people who done it. Well, that's not right. They were groomed to do those things. Yep. But we never pointed our finger at Hollywood. We never pointed our finger at the music industry or anybody else. You know, we always said, oh, well, that was stupid of that child. They shouldn't have done that at 16 years old. Well, they were taught it at 13 and 12 and even before then. So really, whose fault was it?
Well, that's what we used to go to these dances. Abigail was in studio dance for a little bit. You know, I have one girl, so I'm excited because I'm like, she's going to be in dance class. It's going to be great. You know, the excitement of having a little girl you can watch get dressed up and do something she loves. She loved to dance. So years, not a big deal. She was in dance. All the outfits were appropriate. The dances were appropriate. We were a part of a Christian dance company where they always made sure the girls were covered. They made sure that the outfits, the costumes were appropriate, and the dances were always. But you would go to these big competitions where these girls were like rump shaking on the stage. And I was like, I would tell Eric, you can't bring the boys. Like, you can't, as much as you might want to come see your daughter perform, because her performance was solid. Right. And her dance company, anything that her company did, they were solid. But you can't bring the boy. Like, there's no way the boys can come to this. As a matter of fact, I didn't even want him coming to any of it. Right. Once he got to a certain age, it was like, absolutely not. Now, they could come to the tap competition because it was more localized and we knew exactly when she was doing it and they could come. So they would come to one competition a year. I mean, she might have been in 7 or 8 of them, but they could only come to one because we knew exactly what time she was going on and we could control within a certain amount. We could control what they saw. But in my mind, I'm like, what are they going to see? Who's going to be before them? Is it going to be, you know, somebody with a half shirt and whatever? And so she stopped dancing because the stuff changed a little bit. But even then, I mean, she was, you know, 14 years old and, you know, doing dance. And I'm like, girl, this has changed so much. And it's just sad because she wants to dance and be modest, but you really don't have a lot of those outlets. And it's just sad to think. And you wonder why these girls now are dating at 14, 15 years old and wearing the homecoming dresses. Oh my word. When I see these parents and they're like, oh my gosh, look at Maria. She's so cute. And Maria is wearing something that I wouldn't even wear to bed. because I'd be afraid if my child walked in the room, he'd be like, "Mom, why are you naked?" Because
That's why we only have 8 kids, Ryan.
But Maria is wearing something with a slit all the way just about a half-inch shy of her.
Right.
And her top goes down and slits all the way to her belly button with her belly button
yep.
ring and her nose ring and all her. No, I'm sorry. There is
no, absolutely not.
There is a generational problem here.
Absolutely. Because like whenever homecoming, whenever I was a kid, they didn't dress like that.
No, they didn't dress like that when I was a kid.
If they had their shoulders exposed, that was something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I mean,
but now it's just so sad because all these moms are like, "Oh my gosh, she's so pretty," and I'm like,
"Well, those are the same kids, or those are the same parents that are allowing their kids at a young age, like 6, 7, 8 years old, that are out there doing dances that you would normally see Destiny doing in a club."
You say Destiny.
I did.
Yeah. If anybody out there is named Destiny, please don't take any offense to it.
He's talking about Destiny's Child.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And that's what you meant.
No, but you know, the thing is, and I'll never forget this, that there was I don't know if I can.
What? I don't know if you can. You can just say half the word, the first word.
All right. Well, back in Maryland, we lived in a townhouse community, and there was a registered PED.
Offender.
Yeah, an offender. There you go. Registered offender.
And, you know, it was funny because people knew that I was a preacher. So a lot of times they would happen to be walking by the house and they would just be like, "Hey, so did you hear?"
Yeah, they like to tell us stuff.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I heard, but, you don't really know what the guy did. I mean, it could have been, when he was 18 and his girlfriend was 18 or 17. I don't know."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But what was amazing about that was everybody wanted to complain about it, that he was in the community. But we had a community pool. And do you know that those little 3 and 4-year-old girls were still wearing 2-piece bathing suits?
Yep.
And I'm thinking, I'm like, well, do you even know who the guy is? Like, if he was sitting right here,
would you pick
watching these little kids dressed up in these little skimpy bathing suits? And that's, I can't comprehend that. Why you would put your kids in a situation
because it doesn't matter to them. It's all about the cuteness factor and giving the kid what they want. You see, parents are so easily to cave into the kids anymore. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. The kids parent themselves. The parents are just around for a paycheck and to pay the bills. I mean, parenting is gone for 90% of America, right? There's only 10% of us that actually parent our kids and say, "Yeah, no, we're not doing that." Like we're just not, you're not dressing like that. You're not, and the rest of them say, "Okay, yeah, here's some money, go buy what you want at the mall." And then they show up and they've got all this, and it's like, "Oh, well, did you see what she was wearing?" "Yeah, I seen it, but you gave her the money." And it's a blame game between the parents about who gave her the money or the, whatever, instead of the parents being like, "Yeah, no, we're one here, you know, and being one, we're going to come to this conclusion and this, and you're not doing this. You're not wearing this. You're done. Take it back to the store, get your money back. I'm going to take you shopping."
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because when Abigail was young, I guess I embarrassed her several times, which I didn't realize that I was embarrassing her. It kind of like clicked later on. But we had this rule that if she ever wanted to, because she would love dressing up like a girl. So she would put
tons of dresses over here.
Yeah.
So she'd put on dresses or whatever. Well, there was a time in particular that she came out and it was a pretty short little skirt dress, whatever it was. And she was, I don't know, probably like 4 or 5, something like that. And Monica had said, that's too short. And she wanted to argue or whatever. So she said, "Okay, go talk to your dad." And so she'd asked me, she's like, with her little cute eyes, like, "Daddy, is this okay to wear?" And I said, "I don't know. Let's see." So turn around and bend over.
Right.
Well, after me seeing her little undies once or twice,
right,
anytime Monica would say it might be a little short, she never came to me ever again. She always just went and changed. She never.
There you go.
And and it's something that has held on even through. She's 19 now, so she's a very modest young lady. She doesn't go out there. I mean, she dresses nice, and I think that you can do that. You can dress nice without knowing everybody your goodies.
Exactly. I mean, though, that's the thing though with dads. That is like whenever I had, Jaden, I was pretty rough on him, right? And then Kira came along whenever he was 6 years old, and God really just kind of like broke me, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, and I'm tough on her, but I'm not tough on her like I am the boys. Annie's like, you know what I mean? But I'm not. I try to show her what a man should be to her. Like, that's my job as her dad.
Mhm.
The guy that gets your hand in marriage better be better than me, because if he ain't, he shouldn't get your hand, right? And so, like, that's but at the same time, I think the woman's job is showing the boys what it means to be a good wife, and
Mhm.
if they're not better than the mom, then you don't marry them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think that's gone in America too. We don't teach our kids like that. We don't. The men don't take the girls, and she'll hang on my hip all day. Mommy, nah, forget it. Mommy taught her how to do makeup and whatever. Now she's on her own, right? Like, she does her little makeup or whatever, and hangs, but she's on daddy's hip all day. The boys hang on mommy all day, and I'm fine with that, because I am trying to teach her from this age until she's 18 and out what a man should be to you, how he
Mhm.
should treat you, the good things, right? And what a good godly man is. That's what I feel my job is. And I just don't think that we have that anymore in America. Like you did a wonderful job, like, yeah, that's too short. And it stuck with her, and I really do think that as men, what we say to our daughters sticks with them more than what the mommy does, because the mommy, I always see this, and she's only 6, so it's only going to continue to get worse, I would say, but if daddy says it, that's the end of it. But mommy says, oh, but mommy, there's a little bit. And it's the same way whenever it's with me and the boys. If I say it, they argue with me a little bit. If mommy says it, then it's good as gold, right? And it's kind of like, ain't that weird how that works though? Like,
Well,
how God balances it out.
Well, there's so many houses now without two parents. You can see that's how Satan gets in. He wrecks the family first. That's the best way for him to get his foot in the door. You tear up a family, you tear up a mom and a dad, you tear up a foundation that will give kids good, solid futures. And I'm not saying you can't make it if your parents are divorced. You can't make it if you're coming from a single family household, a single parent household, but it makes it so much harder on that kid
Yep.
because they don't have an example of who they should be or who they should expect to marry. And
Right.
I think that that's really a huge downfall. And, I've heard it preached before that that's really where Satan gets his foot in the door is he's getting into these households. He's dividing the parents, he's dividing the families, and he's really making it chaotic so that kids don't know how to act. Then you've got, two mommy parents, two mommy households, and two daddy households. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's not okay because, first of all, the Bible says it's not okay. But second of all, because you can't, if you have a little girl and you have two men that are raising you, you can't show that little girl how to act. All you're
Right.
showing them is how to be a queer man. That's
Right.
it. That's all you're
Right.
showing them. And just
Absolutely.
same as for two women in a household raising a little boy, you're not showing that little boy how to be a man at
Nope.
all. You can't.
Nope.
You can show them how to be some woman that's pretending to be a man that
Right.
wears boy clothes and gets a boy haircut and whatever else you want to do, but you don't have what it takes to be a man because you're
Right.
not, because God didn't build you that way. And I know that's
Absolutely
me
right.
stepping on a ton of people's toes, but I don't care.
But that's the truth though. And none of that is, I've often said, when that goes on, it shouldn't happen, right? It shouldn't be allowed. You know what I mean? But we're in America. Everybody's got freedom of choice and all this other stuff, right? So you can't do much about it. But you think about, like, I've been around guys, and I was even raised around some that were raised by two women, right? And they weren't guys like us. They weren't the boys, right? They were something else, right? And then they blamed it on, well, I was raised by two moms, and that's why I'm feministic. Well, yeah, absolutely, that's why you're feministic, but you shouldn't be. You should be a boy. You should
And
be
I
a
think
man.
that that's where it's great to have older men that come in and help and encourage, older women that come in and help and encourage. And, the Bible talks about going to people that have the wisdom and going to the elders and going to people who are knowledgeable. But the problem is we don't have that in our families. And, I it's not that I disagree with single parents raising kids. If
Right.
you're a single parent and you have to raise your children, you do what you need to do. But if you're a
Absolutely.
mom and you don't have a father figure for your son, you make sure that you seek out a solid man that can be a help, whether
Right.
that's your brother, whether that's your, brother-in-law from whatever, that's your father. You need to
Right.
make sure that you have that. And if you're a guy, you do the same thing. So, hey, Sevenkin. So yeah, that's what you do. And the thing is that so many people are so afraid to stand on God's word and say, this is how it should be. That, they just go along with it. And it just, that's the reason why people are acting the way they're acting,
Right. Exactly. And I totally agree. I mean, it's sad though that we see that and the continual downgrading of the family unit, right?
Yeah.
It just continues on every year, right? And hopefully, I mean, I don't know that it'll ever get better, right? But I hope that at some point we would see, because I think there is some part of us that are waking up to the reality of we've really ran astray here, right?
The pendulum has swung, but unfortunately, it'll never be the 80s again, Ryan. It's never going to be the 80s again.
Right.
Okay? Reagan is dead. He's not coming back.
Right. Well, I mean, and that's okay. We don't need the 80s back, but
the only 80s we're getting right now is in the White House, and it's unfortunate. But that's about it. That's the only 80s we're getting, and that's not the 80s we want. Okay.
Right. And I agree. Right. It's pretty bad, but I think though that there is a part that is trying to get back. Right. They're like, okay, we've ran afoul here somewhere, and we need to correct some of this. Right. And slowly but surely, people are coming around and saying, yeah, we need change. We need to fix this, correct it. I don't know that we'll ever get back to where we should be, but I think that there's enough of us who realize it that we can at least hold off some of the fast pace that it was going at. You know what I mean?
Well, spoiler alert, Jesus is coming back, and it's going to get worse until he does. So as far as I can see, the Bible says it's not getting any better. So
I know that. I know that
trying to burst your 80s bubble again, but
I know that to be a fact. But
just watch the classics, enjoy the little kids' toys from McDonald's, and just keep praying the days away.
Right. And you're right. You're right. I mean, it is going to keep getting worse because the Bible says it's going to keep it'll wax colder and colder. You know what I mean? So, and that's true. But, there are those though that are people who you would have never mentioned God, would have never thought about it, who are waking up and they're like, oh, wow. Like I made a big boo-boo. Right. And I'm going to repent. I'm going to turn away and I'm going to go down the godly path now. Right.
Yep.
And if just those numbers that are continuously coming continue to come, I mean, it not that it's going to be great, right? It'll never be the 80, but at least
I say just surround yourself with those people. See, we homeschool, right? So we can control a certain amount of who we interact with and who we deal with, right? So I know that my kids are in a drama club that are surrounded by homeschoolers. I know my kids are in church with people. Now, the church we go to is a huge church. So I am sure there's lots of crazy, whack people in that church, but that's what they're for, right? They're there to learn more about Jesus and to come to the Lord. And I'm sure that all those kids in there aren't, I'm sure that everybody's doing their own thing. And there's probably kids that are cussing and probably kids that are smoking and drinking and sleeping with people that they shouldn't be. But for the most part, we're trying to control the environment to protect our children as long as possible, because it's going to be a time where they are adults and they have to deal with the reality of how sucky this world is. But if I can control how much they see and experience as a young adult and a young person, then when they become a young adult, it's a different transition. I'm hoping anyway, we can introduce them to a certain amount of things and try to get them weaned into that, if you will. But control your atmosphere and an environment and control them by, surrounding them with godly people, surrounding them with encouragement and love and all the stuff that you can do. Because if you can't do that, then, when they get out there, they're going to be flailing for some sort of life raft.
Absolutely. Annie always is afraid that I'm setting them up for failure, right? Because I am hard on. We're not sending them to school. We're not. You know, we can't afford to send all of them to public or to private school.
Well, I have
You
3
know,
homeschool graduates,
right?
so they're not too
And,
screwed up. I mean, I've
and
got
she's just like, you know, they're not getting enough social time. You know, and it's like church is social time.
Yep.
See, in Texas, there's probably more avenues for things than here because West Virginia ain't got drama clubs. If you don't go to public school, you're not allowed to play ball. You're not allowed to do participate in anything if you're homeschooled, right? Which is wrong, right?
Yeah.
So like you punish the kid because I want to homeschool him. You know what I mean? That's not cool.
Well, what I'm going to say is Texas probably has the same laws as West Virginia does. Our kids were only allowed to play certain sports if they were in a private school.
Okay.
But I will say
have
too,
rec ball. We put them in rec ball.
well, he's not talking about rec ball. He's talking about like high school level.
Oh, like high school level. They actually joined the local Christian school just for gym class or whatever, and it counted so they could play baseball.
But what I'm getting at is some of the more, especially because they were homeschooled, the harder questions that I had to answer was when my boys were playing at a high school level. And this was back in Maryland. So my 13-year-old was on a team with 16-year-olds, and it became very complicated trying to explain things that
they were talking about.
These kids were talking about.
That boys are talking about, you know, and but to that point, you know, I feel like that's one of them things that a lot of times people throw out there that aren't knowledgeable in the homeschooling realm, and then they scare the people who are in the homeschooling realm to think that their kids are going to be messed up. They're not going to be able to survive. They're not going to be able to succeed in life. But like Monica said, you know, with us having 8 kids, we've got the kids that are in school, some that just started school, but the top 3 have already graduated out. And if you watch my 3 oldest compared to people their age, they're extremely successful because they're not in debt. They haven't been brainwashed by the local universities.
Right.
They have an actual skill so they can use their hands and their head to work and make money. And you got people that have went to college, got a bachelor's degree that's so far in debt, but yet still making less money than my boys make.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so, you know, the world is trying to groom you to think what is acceptable and what works and what doesn't. And all the things, what I have found in my 10 plus years on you, is it 10 years?
Yeah.
No, 7 years. 8 years. Because he's
39.
Yeah, 39.
He just turned 39.
So yeah, you got
my 8 years of experience on you. I've learned that. And so I'm the one sitting back kind of giggling because I'm like, I didn't go into debt, put my kids through college. And yet they're making more money than Joe that spent 4 years in college. He's $80,000 in debt. So he's already starting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas mine are debt free. We've taught them how to value a dollar, how to save money, how to not be afraid of getting dirty, how to work hard,
how to be outside of the box thinkers. You know, my daughter's working on her photography business, and she's been like kind of hem-hawing, but she's been helping out with my co-op. So she helps me direct stuff. You know, there's probably co-ops in your area that you probably don't know exist, Ryan. There are homeschool co-ops popping up everywhere because of the 2020 garbage that's been out there because of that stuff. There are homeschool co-ops and groups that are like enrichment course and enrichment classes. They're popping up all over the place. And I bet you there's probably some in your area. And I know you live pretty rural in the mountains and stuff. And sometimes you got to drive 30 minutes to do it. But I will say that I drive about 30 minutes to my co-op once a week. It is the best. The only reason why my kids have drama is because I teach the drama club. I'm the one that does that part of it. We have a 3 period a day. It's very chill. It is the best for my family. I'm so happy I found it. But for the first 10 years of homeschooling, I didn't put my kids in co-ops. It was just rec ball, rec dance, and whatever else I did for my kids, where they were in Sunday school, they were in Bible studies, we had play dates with friends or whatever. I mean, that's all you could do.
Right.
But a trip to Costco is a big teaching moment because my little kids at 9 and 12 years old, they could have full conversations with any adult in that whole place.
Yep.
Because they weren't afraid to talk to people. They weren't afraid to interact with people. They knew how to tell you whether this was a cheaper per ounce or this was cheaper per ounce.
That's funny.
But that's what it takes to be a successful adult. Is to be able to interact with other people and to be able to know how to purchase food and make food and things like that. My daughter-in-law loves that my oldest son can cook. She's like, oh my gosh, Caleb is he's such a good cook. He can do this and this and this. And I'm like, of course he can, because I'm a lame mom and I made him cook things. but we challenge each other. We have cook-offs and we let the kids cook against each other. And I encourage the kids to learn how to do things on their own, because if they don't do it now, what are they going to do? Because guess what? Exactly. They ain't living with me until they're 85. Nope. I'm going to be, they're not living with me until their 30s if I can help it.
We
if
they're ready to get married, wipe our behinds, though.
No, if they're ready to get married, they can go.
That is a point. That is a valid point.
But even with our sons, right? My oldest son, when he got married, we didn't tell him to go live on his own until it was right before the wedding, because we knew we didn't want to give him a chance to fail, because him and his girlfriend, we didn't want them to live together. And we were hoping they would stay, just basically stay virgins until they got married. And so he got his apartment in April. They got married the first week of May. So he only had his apartment for like 2 or 3 weeks. And even when he did, we kept saying, we would prefer you to have someone be there with you if she's over there helping you get things ready. So they did. They would take a chaperone, or he would come to our house after work, and that's where they would hang out at our house with people around, because they didn't want to put themselves in a situation. But we always agree with pushing our boys out right before it's time to go, so they know how to get themselves established, so they have a space for their new wife. That's their bride and their space. But stay as close as you can until it's time to go. Because when you live on your own, there's so many ends for that temptation and for Satan to get a hold of you. And,
see, that's what I want here. Like, I want to have a big enough piece of property and own enough property to where I can be like, okay, you can have this piece, you can have that piece, you can have that piece. You're out of my house, but you're still within range of me, to where if you need me, I'm right here. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to go, but you got to go. You know what I mean? But I'm still right here. And like, that's like been the dream for me, wanting to keep them around, because it's not a control thing. It's me wanting to be a good parent and wanting, my mom and dad didn't do that for me. They were like, oh, see you later, son. Don't let the door hit you. And like, okay, thanks, But like, I'm trying to set them up for success, because that's what I want. I don't want them to go through the struggles of life that I had to go through, through all the crap of trying to figure out who I am, what I'm supposed to do, who I want to be, all this other stuff, and wind up 30 something years old and being like, I still don't know what I want to do. Right. and then figure it out and be like, oh, that's what I want to do. I like that. That's fun. I mean, I don't want that for them. Right. I want them to be confident and bold and be able to know what they want to do by the time they're 18 years old, or at least have some sort of idea of what they want to do. Right. And to be able to get out there and do it. Right. And achieve it, and if I've got to help them, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help them in any way, shape, or form that I can, so yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like that, that's the way we should be parenting, like even like with 7 Ken, like the way that he shows them how to live out there on their homestead, how to do stuff, how to build things from nothing, this was free stuff. And this is how you build with free stuff. You turn something that was nothing to somebody into something usable for yourself. Exactly. Like, that's what I love about being in YouTube, right? And TikTok and stuff. We can learn from people that's in our little, I don't want to call it a clique, but in our little group, right? Yeah. Like, there's so many people that's in this little group, and we we bounce ideas off of one another. We learn from one another, and like, your experiences will help me with my kids, Yep.
What, Eric? Are you watching another show?
No, I'm watching another show.
What in the world? Eric's about to turn on another YouTube video. He don't know. He's done with you. He's done with you. He's like, I'm turning on another video. Excuse me.
No, I was sitting here looking at the computer and it says 62 degrees. I'm like, that can't be right.
Surely it ain't.
It's 50 degrees. It's weird here because it's been 50 degrees all day outside, but it's been so foggy and overcast that it's actually like, it feels like it's in the 30s at some point because it's cold. It's like a cold rain, even though it's 50. Like, at one point, one of my boys walked outside. He's like, it feels good out here. I'm like, no, bro, don't feel good out here. It feels cold. Like, it doesn't
feel good to us older folks, but to them, it feels great.
It didn't feel good to me.
No,
To this old person here. Well, my old boy, one of my older boys was like, "Did you mean to start a fire?" I was like, "No, we just wear sweaters. It's fine." But I mean, it's been 70 degrees in the house, but it still feels chilly.
Right. Well, I mean, we were dealing with negatives all last week. So it warmed up to 30 to, and I'm out there in like shorts, like, hey, this is tropical weather right now we're having. This is great.
Yeah, that Arctic blast tore us up down here. It was just so cold. And the wind, I mean, there was like 2 nights that the wind was howling. It just didn't stop for like 2 nights straight.
That's how it was up here. It was 3 or 4 nights. It busted pipes. It done all kinds of. Then some animal gets loose and tears up the yard and makes a mess everywhere. And
I saw that you posted something on Instagram. It came in my feed today, and I didn't even see it before. I guess that was like 3 days ago you posted. But how many chickens did you lose?
She about all of them, just about all of them. So, and that's thousands of dollars worth of chickens because she had a bunch of these fancy breeds and stuff out there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's awful.
Thousands. Yeah, it was bad. So it is what it is. I mean, every time you think you got it nailed down, you something happens. It just is what it is. You just gotta take it on the chin and keep on going, I guess. But it is very, very, very frustrating. Because a lot of those breeds that she had, like the Polishes and those Silkies and those weird silky Turkin things, showgirls,
the naked necks.
Showgirls is what they're called. So they're Turkins, naked necks with silky mix, and they call them a showgirl, right?
Oh my gosh.
And so she had tons of those. I mean, it wiped them out. I mean, there wasn't much left out there. So like I said, it was thousands of dollars down the drain, but I mean, just gonna have to go back to the drawing board. I've been telling her for a while, like, maybe we should build some of these cattle panel, hoop house looking things to lock the chickens up in. Not just this, but like have, separate them out into separate pens. I'm like, I know we don't have a lot of room here, so there's not like a lot to do, but even if we just build a couple small ones and put them all in their separate ones, so each breed had their own and stuff. And so I think that kind of was like the breaking point for that. Like now she's like, okay, we'll have to do that,
Yeah.
So,
well, there's this one run thing. It's like a movable one. It's like almost like a house, but right. It's something there's a name for it.
Chicken tractor.
Yeah, it's a chicken tractor, but there's a specific brand or a kind, and the Naked Gardeners do it. Cannot think of it's called, the Kitchener or the. Oh, there's a name for the chicken tractor.
It's like a Polish name or something.
Huh.
Yeah.
Chickshaw. Is it Chickshaw? 7 kids said Chickshaw.
Kirchhoff. Hold on. I think it's the Kirchhoff. No, it's not. What is it called? John Suskovich. The Suskovich. Okay, wait. I'm going to write it in the chat so you can see it. I'm going to copy. It's the John Suskovich chicken tractor. So if you look up John Suskovich or the Suskovich chicken tractor, it's this. That's the name of it. So if you look up the Suskovich chicken tractor, you'll find it. People are building them everywhere all the time. This is what I know that Naked Gardeners have, and they have a lot of specialty animals, like because they have the American breasts, and then they've raised the turkey, the ones with the little chicken neck things, and turkeys, and they've had chickens and ducks and all that. So they use this for their poultry, and they really seem to. I'm pretty sure they like it. Cool. But that's what a lot of people use.
Because I built in 2020, I built them a chicken house. It's not a chicken coop, it's like a chicken house.
Yeah.
And they all go in there at nighttime. But the problem with that is that they all go in there at nighttime.
Yeah.
So, like if the specialty breeds were in these makeshift or whatever, like you're talking about these chicken tractor things, right? That they could go in. First, you're separating them all out. So then that they're going to be breed specific, right? Yep. And then the more expensive ones are in there, so you don't have to worry about them. And just the egg layers are in. Not that the egg layers are any less important, because that's where my food's going to come from, right? Yep. But if something was to get in there, it's not as hard of a hit as what they wiped out in there, because some of them chicks you paid $10 to $12 a piece for, know, and they were just starting to lay, So it really, really messed it up.
Yeah, I think the Chickasaw is the type that the Chickasaw or whatever. I think that's the type that Carmen and Nathan have, where it's flatter and it looks it's similar to what they build for theirs. Separate by breed, sell the expensive breed eggs. That's big money. Yeah. So we have a friend that uses the Chicksaw for a lot of her rabbits. Actually, she puts her rabbits in those, and that seems to work for her. But for us, that's not.
Well, the whole reason they were out, like, so I had built these chicken tractors for them. They were A-frame chicken tractors.
Yep.
And I took canvas tarps and wrapped half of it in a canvas tarp, right?
Yeah.
And then they all had roosting poles, and they also had one end was actually boxed in completely with wood, right?
Yeah.
And they were pretty heavy. And Annie was like, oh, I hate dragging them around. And in the snow, you couldn't move them, right? And she was like, they're getting pretty cold in them chicken tractor things. If we moved them all over into the actual run where they can all just run and do for the winter time while it's cold, and separate them back out in the spring. And that's what we did. And 2 weeks later, they were all dead. We took them all out of the chicken tractors. Yeah. Because we had 2 or 3 chicken tractors that are set up out there. And we took them all out. They were all separated into their own, because she actually hatched out some baby chicks off of several of them. So there's a little bit of a population that we might have. Hopefully they don't turn out to be roosters, but
well, do you have any eggs from those? Any of those? Do you have any eggs left from any of those that you had?
If she does, I don't know where they are. She probably does, but I don't know where they would be. Well, it wouldn't count for the last 2 weeks anyhow, because the last 2 weeks they were all put together,
Oh yeah.
So it wouldn't really, even though they kind of had been separated for so long, they kind of stuck to themselves.
Yeah.
You really didn't see all the naked neck showgirl looking things. They all stayed with themselves. And then what was the other ones? The Polish all kind of stuck to themselves. You really didn't see anybody trying to run to them. Plus, there wasn't really that many roosters. There was only 2 roosters out there that were free ranging with the rest of the birds. And one of them was a blue leghorn. I don't really know the name. I think it was called a lavender leghorn. And then one of them was a millie rooster. But yeah, I mean, so there wasn't really
incubate all the rest of your eggs and sell them as fancy mixed breeds and call it, start over. But you could always hatch out a bunch of them, whatever you got left.
And see whatever comes out.
Hatch out all the rest of them and just sell them. Sell them as, fancy mixed breed, and tell them what they're from, and they go from there, Yeah.
Yep,
So Carmen actually has the Joel Salatin style. So there's like 3 different main styles. The Chicksaw is Justin Rhodes. The Joel Salatin is more of the ground level one. And then the other one that I was just saying, the Suskovich or whatever is different.
Yeah, right. The Suskovich chicken tractor.
Yep.
So
fancy mix. Yep. There you go.
I know you guys are going to have to go pretty soon. Wanted to talk about what we got going on this month. Well, not this month, but next month.
Yes.
So,
what do we got going on?
I'll let you take the lead on this.
Me?
Oh, you didn't.
Not you, Eric.
You didn't.
Not you, Eric. Okay, so I finally saw the email that had my name on it this time too, and I was all excited. I was like, "Ooh, look, I'm involved in this." So, sorry, Eric. I'll have to tell you what we're doing. So we're actually doing coming up in February.
Real quick, I thought we were like partnership on this.
We are. You know what this is. I'll tell you. So we're doing what's called the Break Your Heart Bake 2024. And so we are doing basically it's going to be what I'm looking at, what it says. It's going to be, you bake something so wonderful. It was so delicious, so yummy that it would break your heart if you couldn't have it again, basically. Right. So there's going to be a bunch of people every day during the month of February. So from February 1st to February 29th, there's going to be a new video coming out every day for someone involved. And they're going to be showing you what they love to bake. It's got to be baked. And so it's going to be something, it can be desserts. It can be main meals. It can be whatever it is, something that is the break your heart bake.
Man, look at this thumbnail.
I know, isn't that beautiful? Yeah.
It looks good, don't it?
He did so good. You bake something so good, it breaks your heart.
That's really good.
Yeah. Hey, I'm excited.
And then coming up in like not April, but May, I think, May or June. So Jaden come up with one. And it's called the world is your dinner plate, right? And so listen to this, Eric. Whatever your homestead name is, or whatever your channel homestead name or your actual name is, you can use the first letter out of whatever it is. Find a country that goes with that first letter. Okay. So like, Eric, you could go to Ethiopia. Okay. And you can find some Ethiopian food and cook it. All right.
Never done that before.
Right.
That'd be so cool. We know Ethiopians. We can ask them for a good recipe.
Okay.
So, I mean, but you can go with either your first name or the name of your homestead, right? Like the first letter of your, so B, right?
So if I did B, I could do like Birmingham,
Barcelona.
Alabama.
No, country.
Oh, yeah.
Country.
Yeah, it's got to be a country.
It's no country.
No, Birmingham is not a country.
No, Birmingham's
like
a
Bolivia.
city in a state.
Like Bolivia.
Right. Jesus Homestead, you guys can make Jamaican food. So if you guys want in, let me know, and I'll get you guys send an email for that coming up in May whenever we do it, or June, whichever one. I don't know which one.
For Jesus Loving Homesteader. See? Jamaican. She can make Jamaican food.
Right, exactly. So
Eric's going to change his name now to a different letter just so that he can make food from a specific place.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. No fantasizing.
But we can do B, E, or M because we got so Carmen could do J, C, or N.
Yep.
But that's in the future, though. You're talking more specifically about the breaking your heart.
But we're talking about the breaking your heart.
Yeah. We're talking about breaking your heart.
The break your heart bake is February. It's going to be all through February, every single day.
So basically, this is something that's in the old days they would say it's so good make you smack your mama.
Yes.
Well, it tastes so good to make your tongue smack your brains out.
There you go.
Okay.
That's what my daddy would always say.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. That's all you have to do is be able to bake something. It's just a bacon.
Yep.
Put it
I already made mine.
Huh?
I already made mine.
Did you really?
Yep, I already made it. Got the video ready to go because I'm on February 1st, so I had to get a jump on it.
That's right. You got to get yours ready.
When is what are we?
We are in the middle. We're in the 19th of February, which is good because I've got birthdays February 10, 11, and 12. So I'll be making it like right after that.
So Annie's February 3rd. Then our anniversary is February 7th. And then, then I got Valentine's Day. And then my daddy's birthday is February 23rd.
Oh, my word. Yeah, you got a lot of Februaries too. We've got tomorrow is my second son's 22nd birthday. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
my
second oldest is happy birthday tomorrow. And so we're gonna celebrate a little bit tomorrow, but we're gonna mainly celebrate on Thursday because tomorrow night's our prayer night at church. And he was like, Mom, I don't want to miss this prayer night. So he's going to work. He's gonna come straight home from work on his birthday, go straight to prayer night at the church. And then when he comes home, I'm going to have some surprise cupcakes for him so that we can at least say a little bit of happy birthday to him.
There you go.
But we're going to really celebrate him on Thursday, I think. And
See, Ryan, that, all that stuff we were talking about, homeschooling and putting your kids in a position to be successful.
Right.
When one of your kids is turning 22 and what they want to do is not make prayer night at church.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That shows you that it can be done and you can be successful and they're not going to be a bunch of weirdos.
Right. Exactly.
Well, it was funny because he said to me, he's like, Mom, it was so weird. He said, I was laying in bed. This was like 2 weeks ago. He told me, he said, I was laying in bed and I knew my alarm was going off and I could hear it. And he said, I had already determined that I was going to go to prayer night because it's a really big church-wide prayer. They do one a year. It's a huge event for the church and it's a really big deal. So he really wanted to be a part of that. And he knew that was going to be on Wednesday, but he would love to take off for his birthday. And so that way he could be on time to the prayer night because we're going to be hustling tomorrow. And he said, it was funny because he woke up, but he wasn't really fully awake and he heard this voice. And he said he actually sounded like Eric's voice, but he knew it wasn't Eric's voice because it was like early in the morning. And he said he heard this voice and it said, don't take off for your birthday. And he was like, what? And then he heard it again. Don't take off on your birthday. And he was like, I wasn't going to take off my birthday. I already decided I was going to go to work that day. But he heard it a couple.
Getting flipped with the Lord?
I don't know, but needless to say, he heard the voice a few times, and he said he realized that it wasn't Eric.
Right.
And he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna work on my birthday. I already decided, but okay, yeah, I'm definitely gonna work on my birthday." So I told him, I said, "Well, enjoy your birthday at work for whatever reason you have to be there. God knows exactly what he's trying to do. Exactly, Holy Spirit talking to him." And he said, yeah, he said, but it was the weirdest thing because I totally thought, he said, I really thought it was Dad. He said, but it wasn't. He was already at work because it was one of the weekdays. And he said, but it was really cool to just like, it was a confirmation of what I was already doing that day, what I had already decided. was it the right thing to do? Because, you
Right.
know, he could have came to me later and said, "Hey mom, I'm not going to take off my birthday. I'm just going to, you know, take off the next day." And I could have said, "Oh, well, you know, it's your birthday. It's your last birthday with us before you get married. And I'd love
Right.
to stay home and I want to shower you with lunch and breakfast or whatever." Now I didn't. I just said,
Right.
"Okay, well, what are you going to do? What's your plan?" And he said, "I want to go to work. I want to go to prayer night. And then I'm going to take off on Thursday." And I was like, "That's awesome. That means I can make you breakfast. I can make you lunch. And it's my last time to like do what I do
Baby
for
him.
the kids." That's what I do for the kids
Right.
whenever it's their birthday. So yeah, it's my last chance to do that because next year that's his wife's job.
Right.
That's not my job
Exactly.
anymore. That's his
Right.
wife's job. So it's the last chance I get to kind of baby him a little bit as my little boy, but you know, my grown man boy, my grown man
Yeah, that's
child.
all right though. That's all right.
But it's you know, I like to do these things for my kids because I want them to feel special and I want to know again, like you said, I'm trying to set an example so they know how they should be treated as a husband.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
I hope that their wives would, you know, take time to care about them as much as, you know,
Right.
I hope
And honor them, you know?
Yep. So
Yep.
anyway, it was pretty cool though. So see, you can raise your kid. I mean, they get a little weird. Homeschool kids are a little weird. You can't help it.
They're weird because they're smarter than the schooled kids.
Yep.
Hey, whenever he goes around people and he's like talking to them, they always come up and go, "Is he in gifted?" I'm like, "No, he's homeschooled. He's super smart for his age. Like, how old is he?" You know, and you tell them, they're like, "That's crazy. He knows stuff that he talks like on a adult level on stuff, you know, on
Yep.
some things." And I'm like, it's just how he is, you know. He's always been like that,
Yep.
you know, and so I mean that kind of gives you a compliment, you know. I mean, it's kind of nice, but you know, like I said, Annie's always worried like they're going to turn out, you know, bad, or you know, they're going to be different. I'm like, who wants them to be like the world anyhow?
Exactly.
What does the
They'll
world
be
have
fine.
to offer them?
They'll be fine. She'll be
Right.
fine. We'll keep telling her, "Hey, we know people. Their kids are normal. They have good jobs. They're successful people."
Right, exactly. You know,
It can
I mean,
happen. It does happen.
I don't want them to be a part of the world. Like, you know, that's always my thing. Like, why do you want them to be around that at all? You know what it's like there. You know,
Yep.
I mean, you know what it's like. Why do you want them around? You know, and I always go back to this. It's my job, you know, as the man, like to be the head. And I'm not trying to be chauvinistic here, but you know, God set an order, right? Him, the man, the wife, the kids, okay, and then the dogs. And I have taught that to my kids from day one. And if you ask them who's boss, God, Dad, Mom, me, Kira, Malachi, the dogs, right? Like they know that. And you know, I always go back to it's my job to do what God led me to do. And if God says this is the way, then this is the way.
Yep.
And I'm the one going to be punished if I don't do what he says. You know what I mean? So I have to, you know, it's not that I'm trying to put my foot down or me trying to be like, no, we're not doing this, you know, or we have to do it my way. It's I have such a impression upon me, right, by God that this is the way to do it, that I can't go against that, because if I do, then the blood will be required at my hands. You know what I mean? And I ain't having it. You know, I'm going to be the man, and I'm going to say, you know, this is what we got to do, right?
Well, that's again where the world has groomed people to think a certain way, because you know, they take something like what you just said and said, you know, you even started it off by saying, "I'm not trying to be a chauvinist."
Right.
And it's not about that. And I heard a preacher say one time that, you know, it's more about the position that God has given to each person in their role.
Right.
It never talked about value. It never said, well, man is going to be head of the household because he's valuable and the female is not valuable.
Right.
We're all valuable at different levels. You know, like you were talking about before with, you know, how interesting it is between you and your wife. You know, together, you guys have two different responsibilities. You know, typically the woman is the comforter and the husband is typically the one that gives the guidance.
Yep.
You know, that's why the dad can be like, "You're going to bed, you're not eating nothing." And then the wife is like, "They're going to die if they don't get a meal."
Exactly.
Right? But, you know, but that's where we get to see, because, you know, the family, the nucleus of the family is a visible representation of who God is, demonstrating his power, but he's also demonstrating his love and compassion.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
between man and woman, when they're together and become one, they're demonstrating exactly who God is.
That is an absolutely great way to put that, because that's hit it right on the nail right on the head. Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better. So for sure.
Just stand your ground, man. You be strong and lead the family. Always allow the Lord to be the focal point, and every direction you go, always led by the Lord. And when you do that, everything will work out. I promise you that. Again, that's the experience that Monica and I have, where we question ourselves all the time. We all agreed we didn't want them to be like the world. We didn't want them to be messed up like the world. We didn't want them to do this. We didn't want them to do that. But in the back of our mind, it's always one of those things where you're just like, what are they going to turn out like? Are they going to be a bunch of little psychos? Are they going to be like, the emo kids because they didn't get to go to school and they didn't get to see the things that everybody else got to experience? Yeah. And at the end of the day, most of the time they're like, I didn't want to do that anyway.
Yep.
Well, I think too, a lot of times as parents, we're just like, it'd be so much easier if we sent them to school. We wouldn't have them for 6 to 8 hours out of the day.
Yep.
And that's, God didn't give me them so I could put them off on somebody else. God gave them to me. That's my responsibility.
Yeah. It's our responsibility for sure.
Agreed.
Yep.
Absolutely. But it's been a good place to be. Thank you guys for coming on tonight. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for coming on. You guys, y'all have been really good to me. So ever since you guys had me on y'all's live stream, y'all have been very, very good and always there when I needed you. So I appreciate it.
You. All the times we've had to call for whatever reason, because Eric be trying to catch some animals.
Yeah, did you ever catch anything? Yeah, no. Yeah. And you never grew them giant pumpkins either. What's wrong with you?
Lots of things.
Right?
Where should I start?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Let's start with on the couch. Hang on one second. Let me see. Go ahead and get on the couch. We'll start writing things.
All we have is a bed. Get on the bed, Eric. No, you can't lay down on a couch or a bed because he'll fall asleep immediately. He won't even tell you what he's got going on. He'll be like,
he sounds like me, man. If I go, it don't matter. If I wake up and 2 hours later go and sit down anywhere and even remotely get relaxed, I'm knocked out. What's wrong with us? We got narcolepsy or what?
I think
it must be an old guy thing. We're just getting old. I think our testosterone's low or something.
I don't know. Maybe you need something. I don't know. What is he even talking about?
She said you fall asleep.
He does.
Normal people just don't fall asleep.
Yeah, but sometimes he takes a long time to go to sleep too. Because we'll be laying in bed and he'll be like, I can't get to sleep tonight. I'm like, normally you have no trouble getting to sleep. And he's like wrestling around. And yeah.
I think a big thing, well, for me especially, is my work. It's mentally taxing right now.
Yeah.
So even though I don't physically do the work like I used to, my mind is racing.
That's how I am.
From the moment I wake up, I mean, even when I get in the shower, I'm like, all right, Lord, help my mind to be clear and stop thinking about other things for just a minute.
Right. I'm the same way right now. My mind is going 1,000 miles per minute trying to figure out all sorts of different things. And it's just like, can I just get one day, God, that I'm just here in the moment instead of everywhere else? You know what I mean? And I understand that. Totally understand that.
You watch because you ask for that moment and then boom, you get sick and then you get stuck in bed.
Well, I've been sick for over a month now.
And that's how God says, you need to slow down. Remember you asked to slow down? I'm
there doing this, writing emails, answering stuff, making planning out the entire year for live streams.
Choices that you make to be busy over slowing down and letting God do whatever he needs to do with you versus,
That's very true. Very true.
Taking time to do things.
Yeah, we had the first two sermons for this year. Actually, well, the first one was
one
before Christmas and but between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah.
And then so the first two were geared around specifically about slowing down.
Yep.
And kind of like just getting rid of all the garbage.
Yep.
And that's something that's really kind of stuck with me.
Yep. He said, free your soul from hurry. He said it's the disease of hurry. Everybody's always in a hurry. That was the first sermon of the year. It was a couple weeks ago. And he said, we always want to be in a hurry to do everything. And he said, it becomes like a disease that we can't get rid of. So we have to physically try to get ourselves not to hurry and not to do that. So yeah.
That's very true.
And the other one was this was the founding pastor, which he hasn't been preaching for about 5 years now, but he did one for it was a special occasion. And he was talking about a discipline that most people have lost is a discipline to walk with God.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's pretty good too.
Yep.
So
it's pretty cool. It's been a good year of sermon so far. It really makes you think and step back and go, okay, how can I do this? How can I simplify a little bit? There's so many things that we want to do and we want to accomplish, but we have to really prioritize and what are we accomplishing for the Lord? And, your channel is definitely something that can be used by God to bless your family and bless you. But sometimes we can get so caught up in things that we forget to keep Christ in the center of that. And because we think and we want to do everything for the Lord, we want to do, but sometimes we get so wrapped up in trying to do for him, we forgot that we're not taking time to be with him first.
Right. It's very true. It's very, very true.
And it's the same in our relationships with our spouses. That's how I have to look at it too. Because so many times I'm trying to do things for Eric and I really just need to spend time being present with him.
Yep.
Because then I lose track of, what's going on in his life.
It gets like that very, very fast. Because there'll be times where I'll be like, yeah, Annie, I told you about this. No, you didn't. Yeah, I did. And then I'll be like, well, at least I'm sure I did. I'm pretty sure I did. I did, and sometimes I did and sometimes I didn't. Sometimes she forgets something, but you're right. Like we will get so caught up that we're just like, well, I told you. No, you told 15 other people, but you didn't tell me. And I'm like, okay, I'm telling you now, so it's
true.
But it's crazy how fast we can lose sight and track of what's really supposed to be what's supposed to be right in front of us, and get wrapped around the whole other thing that we're trying to make happen.
Yep. Well, we thank you so much for having us come on here. We're gonna have to get you back over on our channel at some point too.
Anytime y'all want me.
I love doing interviews with people, and we can always think of a subject we're gonna talk about before you get on there. Maybe we'll do some weird Tony questions or something, and we'll think of some different things to ask.
Tony questions? What's Tony?
Tony always asks some like random questions and has the most weirdest stuff whenever.
Tony, okay, yeah.
I call him Tony questions now because he's like, I'm going to hit you with 32 questions, and you're going to have 5 seconds to answer each one. You're going to rotate. You're going to do this, and I'm like, Tony, we love you, man, but settle down.
Right. But Tony's a great guy.
Tony's awesome.
And that dude is a collaboration guru.
Well, he's a workhorse. So he is. Yeah, he's awesome. But I call him Tony questions now. So I have to think of some like interesting questions.
That's funny. Yeah. Anytime you guys want me over, more than happy to come back. So it's
awesome.
always fun to have you guys on here as well. So
very cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. All right, guys. So that is all we have for this evening. Next week, I won't be here. I'll be at Kettle Kitchen, where I'm going to be playing somebody with my 1501. My big old brain here is going to take somebody down for the championship. Cow. Get ready for it. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Is it you?
I don't know. He hasn't even told me when I'm coming on again.
All I know is I'm going on next week.
I can't believe next week's the championship. He's still working on the losers bracket or the not so much winners bracket.
Well, he told me come on next week, and I'm coming on next week.
I texted him the other day and said, hey, Tony, when do you need me? Because I got to get ready to beat Ryan. But I need to know how long it's going to take. When can I go on against Ryan? No, I'm joking. I didn't say that part. But I did ask him when I was coming on, and he doesn't respond yet. So
right.
I know his game night's over now, so I'm going to have to go and look and see.
Well, all I know is next week I'm going over there to play somebody, and somebody better be ready for a butt whooping. That's all I hope it's me. Yeah, that's all I know. Somebody better get ready for me to open up my limitless mind and start
Yeah.
picking words out of
Yeah.
everything and,
Yeah.
and spank some butt.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I told Tony, I was like, yeah, I don't believe this whole I have a brain injury. No, no. I need a doctor's note, buddy. I don't believe it. No,
Hey, I do, man. Like
no,
it's traumatic brain injury,
no.
but
This
for some
TBI,
reason it made
TBI. I need
me.
an FBI note. I need a doctor's. I need an RN note. I need
I can
no.
send you all the notes you need from the VA.
I don't believe it. It's all conspiracy to win the game night. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. I don't even if you send me documentation, fake news. And
Okay.
good for you.
That's funny. That's funny.
You're too
But-
smart. Never mind. I'm not doing it.
It's really though. It's funny though because the words just like pop out and they're like, oh, there's a word. There's a word. There's a word.
Yeah.
So-
I'm gonna go study the dictionary and pray really hard that I can take you down.
You might want to get the encyclopedia out too.
I'm gonna try. I'll try anything at this point.
Hey, all you got to do is think. I see enough that that it should be in there, and if you
Yes.
think it should be in there, just write it down.
That was my trick. I was just looking at it. I'm like, yep, it's good. Just write down words.
Yep.
write
And if
down
it's
words.
not in there, you just get told no. There's no penalty for it. You just
Exactly.
get told it's
I
not
know. I
there.
was like, I'm just gonna start writing stuff.
Right.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Boom.
I
It's
did
in there.
that.
No, you
I
didn't.
did. Yes, I did. Go back and watch the live stream. See if I didn't.
I'm gonna go watch it now. That's ridiculous.
Because I said supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. He said he drops his pen and goes, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's right there." He was like, "No, it's not." And he starts counting letters, and I'm like, "No, I'm just kidding. It's not there, dude." But I had them all thinking it was.
How did you actually remember how to spell it in the first place? Because that's gonna be like, no.
Right, exactly. I don't know how to spell that, anyways. I can spell super, but how do you spell the rest of it?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
All
Well, thank
right.
you so much. We'll see you again later.
Yes, ma'am. See y'all.
Bye,
So-
everybody.
See y'all, everybody in the chat.
Bye.